He's not a speaker. He's not a speaker anymore. What is this?
Very chaotic scene in Parliament yesterday. And by the way, the man who actually pulled the Speaker's chair, that is Honourable Ernest Nogbe. He's the MP for Ashama constituency. And our parliamentary correspondent spoke to him. We'll play that video later where he explains why he had to pull the chair. But let me start off with Dr. Kingsley Nyako. And, or maybe I should start with Honorable Bongo. Give me a minute, sorry. Don't worry. What I want to ask is the fact that yesterday I listened to the majority side, and Honorable Kojo Kuma explained that in actual fact, even though the minority is saying that the Speaker voted on the motion, the Speaker did not even allow the motion to be moved. And so what he voted on was not the motion, but rather an attempt to move a motion in Parliament. So if minority says that, the Speaker did not have the right to actually pass that ruling on the motion, then they are wrong. And that's why I wanted to start with you to give me your verdict of that.
I think that, good morning.
Good morning.
I think that if Honorable Kojo Nkrumah said that, then there may have been some level of confusion in his head.
Why do you say so?
And I'll explain why I'm saying that. You recall that when Honorable Haruna Idrisu moved the motion, the majority leader then went ahead to indicate that before even the motion can be moved, needed the prior approval of Mr. Speaker.
Exactly.
It was at that point that Mr. Speaker could have made the ruling. You understand my point? Could have made the ruling and said, look, because I had not given my prior approval, it should have properly. Mr. Speaker, after listening to the majority leader, admitted the motion and then made Mama Yarga to second it.
Was he not going to throw it out, which is why Mama Yarga came in and seconded?
No. So if you read all the reportage, it tells you. Because you need to have a motion to be seconded. That's the first thing. So until Mr. Speaker admits the motion, even the motion is not moved. You understand? Until he admits the motion is not moved. So the motion, the Mr. Speaker allowed Haruna, even though the majority leader had raised the issue of the fact that, as per Order 51, he needed to have sought the prior approval of Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker has a discretion to say, okay, on the basis of this, I accept that this is an affront to our rules, and therefore do the proper thing. And it has always been done. Mr. Speaker, even though he had this thing, exercised his own discretion and allowed the motion to be moved.
Is that the case? Because I listened to Honorable Mama Yarga yesterday, and he said that the minority was of the notion that he was about to reject that motion, and so that is why he came in and seconded. And then the Speaker said, okay, let's go ahead and debate on the issue.
So that's the point.
And so, which is why Honorable Kojo Nkrumah was saying that then it's a clear indication that the Speaker did not even admit the motion.
But the question is this. Mr. Speaker himself, and that's why Mr. Speaker called people on both sides to debate. So what were we debating? You must first admit a motion before it is debated upon. The details of the motion was, everything was debated. So until it is admitted, no debate commences. So the fact that there was an admission, there was a debate on it, the natural sequence was that Mr. Speaker would then put the question. After the debate, at the close of the debate, we'll put the question. So
if your own member says he was under the impression, or the minority was under the impression that the motion had been admitted, which is why the Speaker allowed the debate to go on, is that not in a way...
No, because you see, it's like, I come...
I mean that they weren't too sure.
No, I just come and maybe I walk into your room without knocking. I'm just giving you an example. I walk into your room without knocking. If your rules are that I must knock and enter your room, and then I come and I walk into your room, and you, even though you know that that is not the way to go, but you say, oh, you come in and sit there, it means that you have admitted me into your room for whatever I can do. In the same vein, he was indicating that he needed a prior approval. Of course, that's what I will say. But Mr. Speaker has the right to say, okay, I will let it go. Okay. Because it is within his discretion. We had moved past that because you do not get to debate the motion without the motion being admitted. So, assuming that Mr. Speaker had indicated that, look, because the rules were not followed, I'm not going to admit this. There would have been a debate. But Mr. Speaker allowed the contents of the motion to be debated. So it meant that it had been admitted.
Okay.
And so on the strength of that, after you have finished a debate, the natural thing to do is to now put the question as to whether the motion should carry or not. And there are processes under which that will be done. And there's a reason, because you are an independent arbiter on the in the chamber. You are not involved. And as our rules do that, maybe later on we'll refer to them. Our rules indicate very clearly that you are not part of the debate. You are not supposed to take part in the debate. Mr. Speaker, instead of putting the question for the House to decide as to whether we agree or we don't agree, Mr. Speaker then goes on to make his own arguments, which in any case was an affront to our rules.
How so? He says that per the rules, he still can't hold himself as a member of parliament. Even if he quoted Article 96 and 95.
You see, go to our Standing Order 7. Our Standing Order 7 defines who a speaker is. Talks about speaker or Mr. Speaker. Includes a member presiding at a sitting. That's Order 7. So our rules are very clear. The moment you assume that particular rule, you assume the functions of a speaker, because it is an office. It is not a personality.
So if he quotes 95:1, and which says that there shall be a Speaker of Parliament who shall be elected by the members of Parliament from among persons who are members of Parliament or who are qualified to be elected as members of Parliament. He quoted this and also quoted 96:1. There shall be 2 deputy speakers of Parliament who shall be elected by the members. So basically, members of Parliament. So basically saying the same thing, that clearly the Speaker cannot hold himself as a member of parliament because he is not elected into office as a member of parliament. But when it comes to the first deputy speaker, he already came into parliament as a member of parliament, and so he does not forfeit that right, even if he has to sit in as speaker.
Go to Order 13.1. Will it be? Yeah. Will it be Order 13.1? Yeah. Speaker shall take care of the chair of the deputy whenever requested. Okay. Order 13.2 actually.
Okay.
Whenever the House is informed by the clerk at the table of the unavoidable absence of Mr. Speaker, the first deputy speaker shall perform the duties and exercise the authority of Mr. Speaker in relation to all proceedings in the House until Mr. Speaker resumes the chair without any further communication to the House. On Tuesday, before sittings commenced, the acting clerk got up and read this provision on the floor of the House to indicate that from that day, Mr. Speaker was not around, and he was assuming the roles of Mr. Speaker. That clearly settles the matter. Besides that, speakership is an office, and there's a reason for it. You know, assuming that the speaker, I use Honorable Joe Ajahu's case. When there was an opportunity to assume the office of a speaker, and Joe Ajahu was then the the MP for, is it Akachi North or something or this stuff? Yeah, Akachi North. He wanted to come. When he was elected, he vacated his position as the MP
for that area, yes.
And that's why there was a by-election that Bernard came in. There's a reason for it. Now, anytime even a member, let's not even use, because when the first deputy speaker is not there, the second deputy speaker is not there, members of parliament amongst themselves can choose somebody to go and preside. I mean, the rules allow that. Even if you come, the moment you assume that, temporarily, you assume the characteristics of a speaker.
But it doesn't make you the speaker.
Look, first and foremost, the primary responsibility of every MP in decision making, because that's the reason why you're in parliament, is your right to vote. Is that not it?
Yeah.
Temporarily, when you go, you assume that office, you lose that right.
Absolutely.
It is a fundamental right of every speaker, every member. But you lose that right, and the Constitution makes you lose that right. Why do we do that? We do that because at the end of the day, it is about making sure that when you are presiding, you are seen as an independent arbiter.
Okay. Of
the various sides that you have in Parliament. And so when Mr. Speaker indicates, and that's why I read Order 7. When I say our rules, we anticipate the framers of our Constitution and then the standing orders foresaw these things. And that's why they provide every detail of it. That even to say Mr. Speaker, when you say Mr. Speaker, it could either be the Speaker himself, that's Mr. Speaker, or any other member who is presiding at a sitting.
Okay.
So he was presiding at that time. And so that's why I said, instead of him putting the question, all he did was to present his side of the argument. And then on the strength of that, he decides to say that he has declined the motion. Which motion are you declining? Because in the first place, if you declined the motion, you shouldn't have opened it up for debate.
Okay. Let me bring Dr. Nyako in, because on what he ended on, if you open the floor for the motion to be admitted, you should naturally go for a debate and then a vote. But in this case, the speaker did not permit the vote to occur. And even when he was going ahead, because I remember that was when the misunderstanding happened. And so I heard Honorable Abu Jinapo speak into the microphone and say that, Mr. Speaker, give your ruling anyway. I think that's what I saw on TV. And then the speaker went ahead to give his ruling. But even when he was doing that, Honorable Mutaka said that he is not the speaker, and so he cannot give a ruling. And that's, what is he doing? Why is he not allowing a vote to take place before, you know, allowing the parliamentarians to be the ones to decide if there should be a rescission or not? Why did he go ahead to still give a ruling?
So let me say a very good morning to your revered viewers. I think what happened yesterday, for me, was very unfortunate, and it shouldn't have happened. Because I remember before the commencement of business, Minority Leader Haruna Dusu came by Order 51.
Yeah.
Let me read what it states.
Okay.
At the time appointed for the purpose under Order 53, Order of Business, any member may, with the prior approval of Mr. Speaker, move a motion on a specific matter of urgent public importance. So when he tried to make this motion, Majority Leader rose and said that when Haruna was reading this particular standing order, he left out with the prior approval of Mr. Speaker. So he has to do that because he did it on Tuesday. That was the contention.
He did what exactly on Tuesday? He did not give prior approval. He came in with an urgency, right?
No, he's according to him, he sought the permission of Mr. Speaker. He came by prior approval. He was there. That's what he said.
Was what the majority leader said?
Yes, yesterday. And he did that on Tuesday. So Haruna should have done same. Then Mama Yaruga rose and said that for him, that was not right. And he went ahead to even demand of the speaker to produce a written statement or evidence.
Yeah.
And Mama Yaruga was trying to suggest that of that nature was done. And I remember clearly, Speaker saying that he had been in his lobby for 1.5 hours and that nobody came to him, seeking his prior approval. 1.5 hours. And he even said that could have even been done through a phone call because Haruna has access to him. You could have called him or discussed with him and all that. None of these things happened. But, the speaker is wise. That's why it's called the wise. And I think that he saw the mood of the House. Because our friends on the other side were insisting that it had to be done. For me, seeking approval could have been done even later in the day or today.
Later in the day. But then how do they move the motion then? This is something that happened yesterday.
But knows that sitting could have been suspended and all that for all these things
for this to happen, okay.
That's what I'm saying, that what happened, for me, was needless. It could have been avoided. So when he saw that the minority side were still bent on executing what they had agreed to do, I heard him saying that you continue and I'll give my ruling. And I hope that you can go for the Hansard and the recordings in Parliament and listen to what they said. They said, so it doesn't mean that the motion was accepted.
But if the debate begins, does that not then indicate that the motion has been admitted?
But I'm saying that from what I heard him say, he said, you go on, I will give my ruling. If he had expressly accepted it, to have been a different ballgame altogether. Because my sister, from Friday and all that, attention and all that, so if you're a speaker, you have to be tactful. I'm sure that was why he did that. And for me, the behavior, especially from Mubarak, was so bad. Because
how was it bad?
You see, if you respect the speaker was going to make a pronouncement, you don't stand up and shout and, you know what I mean, you cannot give the ruling and all that.
But he said that the speaker had admitted the motion, allowed the debate. And so why is the speaker now going on to rule when it is the parliamentarians who have to vote to make that decision?
That as a leader,
I get your explanation, but if you say he's also wrong for that.
As a leader, the attitude and the behavior, how he related with the speaker yesterday was all right. Now,
did the majority do the right thing? Because, hold on, Honorable Bawa. Hold on.
For example, I'm just trying to make a point. If you raise the issue that this behavior was wrong, I'm here to defend myself.
Okay.
You understand my point?
But Honorable Muntaka
is not here.
Okay.
So when you put a judgment value on his behavior,
when
he's not here to,
can he at least just explain what he means by that before we
when the speaker was about to make his pronouncement, the attitude of the minority chief whip, for me, shouting on top of his voice, telling the speaker, you cannot rule, you cannot. For me, he could have done this in a more respectful way.
Which way would that be?
But you see him speaking in that mood. Was it right?
But what else should he have done? Which is what I'm asking. How else could he have handled this situation?
He could have done that in a more polite manner. That's my position on that.
Okay.
That aggression and that intimidation, you don't talk to the speaker like
Did the majority do the right thing by going ahead to approve this budget? Because again, there's that contention that you did not have the 138 members in Parliament. You only had 137 members in Parliament, and you still went ahead to say you've approved the budget.
You see the hypocrisy of our friends on the other side.
How?
You used 137, and with that number, you said that the budget had been rejected, 137.
And you committed the same crime, did you not?
No, wait. You take your time.
Okay.
You used 137 to reject the budget. Another group uses 138 to approve it.
How 138? Because they're saying that the first deputy speaker was not a member of Parliament at the time he presided.
I'll put to you. If 137 was not right, yesterday was that maybe we were 137. So if, assuming that 137 was wrong, how then did they go ahead with their 137 to reject the budget? See the inconsistency.
They said they had a quorum at the time that the question was going to be asked.
We walked out. You heard speakers saying that they were 137 in the House at that time. Now, let's go to standing orders.
Before you walked out, how many were you in the chamber? I mean, you had your side. Even though you were not up to 137 on the majority side, at least you had your numbers. And so at the time when that question was being posed, did they not have quorum to go ahead?
Making that decision, they were 137. We all heard speakers speaking to it.
No, can I?
No, wait.
Hold on. Honorable, I'll let you come in.
Now, let's go to Order 48. And I want to make a distinction here. Order 48 of our standing orders. 48.1.
Okay.
It says, the presence of at least 1/3 of all the members of Parliament, besides the person presiding, shall be necessary to constitute a quorum of the House. It talks about members of Parliament besides the person presiding. Then we come to Order 1091 and look at it, language carefully. No question for decision in the House shall be proposed for determination unless there are present in the House not less than 1/2 of all the members of the House, and except otherwise provided in the Constitution, the question proposed shall be determined by the majority of the votes of the members present and voting. On this order, you see the explicit exclusion of the member presiding. Yeah, it is not covered here.
How?
I've
heard you. But if we can go back to 48, if we're using 48 to make this argument, then your side did not have that 1/3 at the time.
I'm making the
and so then you could not have gone ahead.
To me carefully. I'm saying that 48.1 talks about quorum to do business.
Yes.
And that one, it says that it must exclude the person presiding because the speaker, Babin, is not part of us. It's not a member of parliament.
It did not say the speaker necessarily. It said the person presiding, did it not? 48?
Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, if
the person presiding,
Honorable Joe Oseosu was presiding, then he was not seen as a member of parliament,
The person presiding could be MP, the two deputies, and any other member who can be elected by us. Presiding is a member of parliament.
Exactly.
But the speaker is not. That is why there's a difference between 48.1 and 1091, because 1091 didn't even mention the person presiding. It talks about members of parliament. And if you go to order 7 of our standing orders, it defines who a member is.
There's a defines who a speaker is.
Yeah. it says that a member, it says member means a member of parliament.
Yes. And the speaker, read the
and
speaker.
the speaker?
Read the speaker.
It says speaker
Read it.
includes. I know what is there.
But if you could just read it, since
read
you
it.
read that one for us,
So
if you don't mind, sir,
It
please read
says it includes the person presiding.
That makes the person a speaker.
Yes, it includes. So that person could be either of the deputies or a member elected by us.
So 109.123 also talks about the fact that once you become the speaker or you preside, you lose your ability to vote. Right?
Wait, so I'll come there. 1091 has two parts. It says no question for decision in the House shall be proposed for determination unless there are present in the House not less than one half of all the members of the House. That is the quorum aspect.
Okay.
The second part says the question proposed shall be determined by the majority of the votes of the members present and voting.
What does 2 and 3 say?
2 talks about the fact that the speaker shall have neither an original nor casting vote.
Exactly. So if the person is presiding as speaker, he loses his
No,
vote. Does that then mean that he also loses
You have
his
to establish
position as MP?
You are. Take your time. I'm saying that
Okay.
109 first talks about members of parliament forming a quorum. That is why here it didn't even talk about whoever is presiding. Members of, because when Speaker Babin is presiding, he's not a member of parliament. When he's presiding, he's not a member of.
Yeah, because he wasn't voted into parliament, yes.
So he's not.
As a member of
but
parliament.
Any of the two deputies and the one who can be elected when the two are not there is a member of parliament.
Okay, so they are counted for the quorum.
Fantastic. Then you come to the
Okay.
second part. Wait, you come to the second part that talks about when the question is proposed. Majority of those who form the quorum, okay, can't decide the matter. And majority doesn't mean that all those who form the quorum must vote.
Okay.
That's the point. So now you come to
2.
2. The speaker shall have neither an original nor a casting vote. And I think that this is in direct reference to the Speaker of Parliament. Why? Because you come to 3. 3 says a deputy speaker or any other member presiding shall not retain his original vote while presiding.
Okay.
I'm putting it to you that if 2 explicitly captures 3, then 3 would not be necessary.
Okay, understood.
I'm telling you.
So you're saying that you had the numbers to form the quorum to even ask the question.
Yes.
Now, when it came to voting, how many people in parliament voted on that day when the majority? Because there was 0 on the minority side. And we had what? Let's say we had 138 members of parliament at the moment when the question was posed. How many of you voted? 137.
If you had, so about 137 forms the majority of those who were present and voting.
So then that makes it constitutional.
Ours was constitutional and legal. But you see what they did? 107, we all had Speaker Babin talking about 107.
137, yeah.
137 is one less of majority. So that was an illegality, it was unconstitutional, and a rape on our democracy.
Okay.
You see what they did yesterday? I'm telling you, the psychologists, they did that to save the face of Speaker Babin.
How so?
Because of the error he had committed on Friday. Do you know something? I go through our votes and positions all the time. When I saw the votes and positions of Tuesday, Monday, Friday that we had on Tuesday, I saw that had been recorded 137. Anybody who picks this constitution and reads and sees that we've used 137 to purportedly reject the budget, will think that we don't know what we are doing.
Okay, let me let Honorable Bauer respond to this, and then we'll go to the attitude of parliamentarians yesterday with the disturbances that took place.
I think your votes of proceedings that you were reading the upside down. And I explained to you.
How so? How so?
You see that the vote of proceedings would record the number of members present, and it was 274.
Okay.
And one absentee, Ajwasafo, with permission.
The decision was
be patient.
Hold on.
What they recorded was the vote, which was 137 against nil. So if you read the vote of proceedings, then you read it upside down. That's the first point. But see, let me give you the features that were different on Tuesday and that of Friday. I'll give you the features. On Friday, you recall that the finance minister came to Parliament. Usually, when we finish out, when the budget is presented to parliamentarians, there's a debate. The last day is reserved for leaders to wrap up the position of their caucus. Okay. So you have the majority leader and the minority leader will do. Then after that, Mr. Speaker then puts the question as to whether the budget statement and the economic policy of government should be adopted or not. Because it's always a motion that is moved by the finance minister. When we got there and we're going to do the wrap-up, there was a request that the finance minister make some prayer to members of parliament. So, but that decision to do that was going to be hinged on the approval of the House. So Mr. Speaker put that question to the House. And when he put that question, and it was supposed to be a voice vote, and we answered the yeah and then the no. Mr. Speaker said, those who said no have had it. It was within the right of the majority, and which they rightly exercised, to ask for division because they felt that they were challenging Mr. Speaker's decision. So Mr. Speaker, as a matter of principle, would have the moment you call for a division. It means that, and that's why you see that normally there are stages of it. It's because it has to do about hearing. So the first thing Mr. Speaker has to do is to clear all the lobbies. Because remember that it's the voice that people use. So it is possible that people who are not members of parliament, but they have the right to be in the chamber, could also be shouting. So you clear the lobbies and every other place. And that's how the ministers were asked to leave the chamber. So that when he puts up the question again, then we can have The majority have expressed disappointment in how that was done because they're saying that, the speaker did say that if the finance minister, that was after 2 times when he asked him to leave, right? And then the 3rd time when he asked him to leave, he said that if you don't leave, then we're going to let the marshals escort you out. And they're saying that was not even, that was an unfortunate statement to make. The question is this, and no, it's not unfortunate. It is the rule. The rule says that Mr. Speaker will clear the lobby. Mr. Speaker, and in fact, apart from that, the bell is normally instructed to be rung. There's a procedure for all that. So when Mr. Speaker asked that they should go, what happened? In fact, even on Tuesday, you will recall that Joe Usu also made those who were not members of parliament to leave when they were going to count. He made them to leave. He just said that because finance minister was there, everybody could see him, and that if he stood up, people would know that this is the case. Well, fine. What else is discretion to exercise? At the time when he was trying to clear that, then you had a situation where a man from their side comes up to say that the general secretary who was in the gallery, that is not the chamber. And that's why the pressmen are allowed to be, and visitors are allowed to be in there. A general secretary who was in the gallery and was not in the chamber should also leave. That was the exercise of, I don't know what to say, for the just to be polite and civil on television. But it was an unfortunate behavior. Mr. Speaker himself didn't even know what was happening. But now listen to where the key thing is. Usually, to walk out is a right of a caucus. It's a right you can exercise. But when you are walking out, usually the leader of the caucus would get up and say, because of X, Y, Z, we are unable to be part of this particular exercise again. You understand my point? But the majority knew very clearly that the cause of division was called by them and not by us. So the very reason why the exercise was being conducted was at their instance. They never gave any, statement. And they walked out. Even Mr. Speaker was asking what was happening. Because he wanted to understand what the issue was. So he was asking what was happening. And they walked out with a stated being. So Mr. Speaker continued with his activity.
Okay.
Under the assumption, because you have not stated that you are walking out. Under the assumption, because you have the right to exercise
But
that.
he saw them go anyway.
No, it's not by to see you go. Look, let me tell you. I can be seated in the chamber at the time that we're going to take a decision. Then I decide to use the washroom. I can walk out. It doesn't mean that I'm not there.
Okay.
You understand?
So does the speaker still go ahead with the
yes,
proceedings
because
on the...
you cannot arrest the business of Parliament by virtue of the fact that you have decided to walk out.
And Honorable Michael Quay did say that.
Yes.
Yes.
So on the strength of that, Mr. Speaker went ahead to do that. That is why on the votes of proceedings on Tuesday when it was brought, the members present were 274.
Okay.
But of course, we understand why they walked out, because in the first place, Ajasafa was not there. So what it then meant was that if there was even going to be a vote, assuming that their best outcome would have been that they would have had 137, would have had 137. Per our standing orders, the moment there's a tie, the motion is defeated.
Okay.
So they knew that they were going to, anyway, they were going to lose.
Which is why they may have left?
Yes, they may have left.
But you got a 137 vote as well.
Yes, so
and that was not more than half.
No,
of
so
what
but the motion was
required.
not ours. So that's why we wanted to defeat the motion. I don't know what I get in the point I'm making.
Okay. But you still needed more numbers to reject it anyway, did you not?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
You see,
you didn't need more than half
we didn't
to
need,
reject it?
We just needed to have
More
make
than
sure
half
that
of the people who were present at the moment.
Look, the least we needed was a tie.
Which you didn't get anyway.
No, why didn't
Or
you
you
get
still
we,
did.
we were 274.
As against zero who did not vote. Because
no,
they
you
had
don't get the
left
point.
the
I'm saying
chamber.
that in the vote of you were 274.
I get
I'm
you.
saying that the very reason why they walked out was the fact that they knew that if they had sat down and were going to do the count, the best they could have gotten was 137. And would have also gotten 137. As standing order says, if you have a tie on a motion, the motion is defeated.
But in this case, I'm asking that with the tie, then that means that they also have to be in the chamber to also vote, so that you get the tie 137, 137.
No,
but they were not there.
You don't get the
They
point I'm
staged the
making. I'm
walkout.
saying that
So it was
I'm giving the
137
reason why they
against
walked
zero.
out.
I get
Because
you.
if they had stayed in, anyway, they were going to lose that.
Okay.
So I am trying to tell you that if you look at the situation, they didn't announce their exit. They didn't. So Mr. Speaker worked under the assumption that we were 274. And I'm saying that anytime there's a walkout, the leader gets up to make a statement that, look, I'm leaving because of this. And Mr. Speaker records that.
So then the speaker saw it as a 137 against 137 vote?
No.
That's what I'm asking then.
Votes, see, you remember what Joe White said. You can be in the house but not necessarily voting. So the question is this. Those who stood who decided to vote were 137.
Okay.
Those who chose not to vote were nil.
Were what? Nil. So that does not mean it's more than the... because
so
you require the majority.
You don't need... See, the question is, you don't need 138 number of votes to win a motion.
I get you.
It is that you need at least half of
the total
to decide to vote.
Did you get that half of the total?
We were 274. Because remember that the prayer, when they brought it, and Mr. Speaker ruled, they decided, they were there, and they decided to move on to call for a division. So they were part of the House.
Okay.
If you come to Tuesday, and that's the part I'm just trying to, if you come to Tuesday, Mr. Speaker creates the impression that by virtue of the fact that he is a member of Parliament for Bakwai, therefore, he could count himself as one of them, but the fact that he because he knew, and I realized that you asked him the same question, he knew that there was an injunction on him in terms of his right to vote. So he quickly says, I am present, but not necessarily voting. You understand what I'm making? But our standing orders are very clear. And that is why when I was making, I drew the attention of all of us to 7, which defines who the speaker is. So they say the speaker is either Mr. Speaker himself or any member presiding. That includes the deputy speakers.
Point noted.
2, I drew our attention to 13.2 or the 13.2 that talks about the absence of Mr. Speaker and the fact that the first deputy speaker assumes that role.
Okay.
So if you assume those roles, and all the responsibilities attached to it.
So you forfeit your position
that.
as MP. That's a fair point. But let's take a look at... I'll let you respond, don't worry. But I just wanted to ask this question as well. And I want us to take a look at, an interview that Komla Kluge, parliamentary correspondent, had with the Ashaman MP. Well, we have some comments. Okay, let's quickly take a look at what you're all saying in the comment section. When we get back, we'll take a look at what Honorable Ernest Nogbe had to say about why he pulled the speaker's chair when the speaker had taken leave of the chamber. Cookie.
All right. First one from Walanyo in Akwatia says, we are fighting the budget. Meanwhile, we want everything in the country to be fixed in the twinkle of an eye. NDC is purely detracting the development of Ghana. Regards to Chairman Kisi and a happy birthday to Chairman Alhaji Baba Yakubu, also known as Alhaji Baba Yankoro, Akwatia MPP constituency chairman. Now, how can a deputy speaker of parliament usurp the powers of a substantive speaker's ruling by reversing his earlier ruling? Awilo Atito Lawrence, GPRT in Ho, is asking. Good morning, Bella. MPP and NDC are taking Ghanaians for granted. Everything they do is for their own interest and not that of Ghanaians. Nothing is honorable about these people in our parliament. Please, let the first deputy speaker know that his action on the budget approval was totally a conflict of interest. Parliament should be aware that when they implement the e-levy, we will all run away from the e-transactions. Momo agents will go back and sit in the house. So ask yourself, what have you done? Nabina Evans from Navrongo is also asking this morning. Another one says, stop calling him Mr. Speaker because he denied himself that position for the benefit of his party. And remember, you cannot eat your cake and have it. It is time for the majority to know that the era of we have the numbers is gone. And the best way to succeed in your government with equal numbers of parliamentarians from both sides is to respect the views and suggestions of the minority. The majority is trying to rewrite the constitution to favor their stand. Your Abdul Razak from Nalerigu sent in that one. Good morning, TV3. What does Honorable Okujeto want to achieve in his political career? Politics is about leaving a proper legacy and not to climb but to fame by denigrating others' integrity. Our politicians must learn from the greatest philosophers like Socrates. And a Gasti man from Brekum sent in that one. Bella, I'm very confused about the interpretations of both the Constitution and the standing orders of Parliament. But logically, I think the minority's argument holds more water. Godfred from Brekum sent in that one. Now, the zeal with which the majority side of Parliament is trying everything possible to impose hardships on Ghanaians is unbelievable. Sadly, Ghanaians will forget all these when they come back in 2024 to sweet talk all of us. Walter from Laboni sent in that one. Good morning, TV3. Please, correct me if I'm wrong, but shouldn't there be a better way of ensuring all members of Parliament vote or partake on motions of Parliament even when they are not present on the floor? This is the 21st century, an era of technological advancement, and there are numerous ways to make parliamentarians vote or take part in sittings wherever they are, if they are not present in Parliament. This way, if a member refuses to vote or partake on a motion, the decision is taken based on partakers. At the time, no one will have a reason to point fingers, and all these hula baloo will be vanished. I think that's what you're trying to say. Raphael Bachman in Ashima, New York, sent in that one. Another one says, Bella, good morning, please. With all due respect, our parliamentarians are playing with our intelligence, especially the majority group of the House. Is it not the same constitution we are using since 1992? How come they are now going according to that? Let us be serious in this country rather than behaving like nursery and KG students. Davido from the Volta region sent in that one. This one says, Bella, when you need me to stop, kindly alert me because the messages are quite a number. This one says, Bella, I can only pray to God that at this point he would rescue Ghana from the hands of the lawless MPP. Kwame Nkrumah released after Chris Masalibotre sent in that one. I'll take the last two. Bella, can you please ask the MPs to clarify this for me? On Friday, when the budget was rejected, was the first deputy found in the chamber? If yes, was he not counted? Godwin from Kede is asking. Bella, I am very surprised with how things are going in our parliament. Are they, the majority, aware that they are there to represent their constituents? Their behavior suggests they are there to represent the president, but not their constituents. As for the first deputy speaker, the least said about him, the better. General A.A. Aziz Tokali sent in that one. Back to you, Bella. Thank you so much,
We'll try to respond to those questions that have been raised in the comments. But let's quickly take a look at Honorable Ernest Nogbe speaking to Komla Kluche, parliamentary correspondent, and he was justifying why he pulled that chair in Parliament.
Why did you decide to snatch the seat of the Speaker?
I didn't snatch the seat of the Speaker.
What did you do?
Well, I was preserving the seat for Speaker.
to come. Is it part of your parliamentary duties to preserve his seat?
Well, it's not my duty. But when a speaker rules that he's not a speaker, then the speaker will have to come and sit on the seat and take decision on that. You understand? So the fact of the matter is a motion was tabled. Yes, Speaker might have said that he was not giving prior notice, but the motion was tabled and was seconded. Debates from both sides came on that on this motion. Now, per our rules, you need to put the question. You didn't put the question. He, the speaker, cannot unilaterally take decision on a motion. It is the House that must take decision on a motion.
But are you aware that going to touch the seat of the speaker, for want of a better word, is sacrilege?
Well, you are saying it. I didn't do that. Speaker was not on the seat when I touched it.
You touched it.
So many people touches the
Were
speaker's
you supposed to touch it?
seat. So many people, yeah, I can touch it. After touching speaker's seat, what happens? The clerks, everybody touches the speaker's seat. I mean, it's just a normal thing.
Your action attracted the marshals, and that is the concern. Why did you have to touch it?
The marshals were already there. The marshals were there before anybody could touch anything. The marshals surrounded the maze. They surrounded the seat. I mean, there was nothing like anybody carrying the speaker's seat outside the chamber. No, that was not the impression, or that should not be the impression created. We will recognize him as one of us, Honorable Member Joe Osei-Wusu, MP for Bekwai.
Finally, you don't regret going to snatch the speaker's seat?
I will not answer to that. Thank you.
And yes, that's a Shaman MP, Honorable Ernest Nogbe. He says that he was there to preserve the speaker's seat. I'll come to you now, Honorable Nyaku, to speak to that before Honorable Bawa speaks to it. So, what do you make of that behavior that was displayed in Parliament?
I think Ernest MP for Shaman has to be careful in the House. I'm saying this because if you remember, the night that we were sworn in, it was the same person who pulled Eslosu down. The same person who yesterday went and...
you have a proof? You have proof of
yes.
that?
He pulled her down?
You have proof of that?
Go and check, yes. Let my team. I discussed with him.
Okay, and he has admitted to you.
He's the same person. You go and check.
You see, because you're on live TV.
I know.
You're accusing somebody.
Oh.
I know, but also if we can pull up that video again and play just to see.
The same person. You know what I mean? So, but you see something. Most of the things he said, for me, I don't agree with him. It's not true that it was a first-timer who asked the majority side to leave.
Oh, it's not true, but we all saw that clearly on TV. Okay.
Our reaction was due to the perceived bias that we saw from the Speaker of Parliament. I myself had indicated that because of the bias, we should work out. Just
who gave that announcement? Because we heard someone's voice.
Before he said that, we had decided, and I'm saying I was part of it because
you and who exactly?
Sorry?
You and who exactly decided?
Our side, most of us had decided that because we felt that Speaker was unfair to the ministers who were in the chamber. If you look at our standing orders, Order 7, and he knows better, it talks about strangers. And he said that stranger means any person other than the President, Vice President, Mr. Speaker, ministers and deputy ministers who are not members of the House, a member or an office of the House. And our orders allow ministers of state to be in the chamber
for deliberations, right?
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. Order 114, that talks about division. 114 says, in the case of a division, Mr. Speaker shall direct that the lobbies be cleared. The plenary is not a lobby.
Oh.
It's a fact. You know the lobbies. The plenary is not a lobby. So if you want the ministers to leave, you could have asked them to leave. Because when he
Are we
asked that-
linking this to Ernest Nogbe's explanation,
but
or have
he-
you moved
he
on
raised-
from
he
that?
raised- He raised those issues. And I said,
No, I'm just asking because I had asked you earlier about Ernest Nogbe and what he did
I
in
will clarify
Parliament.
it because Ernest, I've made my point on that. I said that what he did yesterday
Was wrong.
Was wrong.
Okay.
And he did same thing to Esla the night we were sworn in. But the point I'm trying to make was that when even Speaker said that the ministers should leave, none of them resisted. None of them created the impression that they were not leaving. So for you, Speaker, to ask the marshals to come after them and send them away.
He didn't ask the marshals. He just said that if you don't leave, then I'll be forced to bring the marshals
What a
in
difference.
to escort you.
What a
He did
difference.
not bring them in.
What a difference.
He did not bring them in.
What a difference.
If you say he brought them in, that's totally different from
so how do you bring
saying that
how
if
do
you
bring
don't
the
leave,
marshal-
then I will be forced to bring
how
them
do
in.
You'll be forced to bring a marshal to somebody who was not resisting your directive to leave. Is that how you address a minister of state?
No, but sorry, I
No,
don't
for
want
me,
to, I
no,
don't want to
Baba,
interrupt.
Baba,
But I just wanted
no.
to draw your attention.
Aruba,
Baba,
I'll let you
please.
speak, please.
My point is that if the ministers had resisted his directive, then calling on the marshal wouldn't have had any problems.
How many times did he ask the ministers to leave before he actually said that?
But you saw him, you saw Ken leaving. Then he called the marshal.
He did not call the marshal.
He did what?
He said he will be forced to. There's a difference.
Yeah,
He did not call the
he forced
marshal.
to, but I'm saying that was not right to start with. You
Okay.
see? But what is going on in the house? For me, I think that we should think more about the interests of the nation, how we can build consensus and move forward. The position the NDC minority has taken, for me, will not inure to our benefit. They are dragging the government, and they think that doing so might inure to their benefit in 2024.
Have you also not taken an entrenched position? I mean,
We have
the
not.
minority and the majority,
Let me tell
we
you
know
something.
that had deliberations, and minority had said that for something like the e-levy, which
Yeah,
is the biggest
yeah,
problem that we have,
yeah.
we wanted to reduce
Yeah.
the percentage to
Yeah.
0.5 or
Yeah.
1%.
Yeah.
And they said that majority said they will not agree to that. And they even said that then include, if you're saying you've made concessions, include it in the policy statements that you are going to present to us before we take a vote. You also refuse to do that.
You see, these issues are not issues that should bring us to this position.
Why?
They are not very strong justification. You know, when we began the debate in the House, the NDC created the impression that they were going to vote no for the budget and the current policy of the government. I listened to all the debates. None of them even made a counter proposal or offer on the
Not
policy
even
interventions.
in the deliberations that
No,
they
wait,
had
wait,
out
wait.
of
I'm
the
talking
chamber?
about before the conclusion of debate on Friday. I listened to them. Debate was started by Atufosin. I listened. For example, I was thinking that in the debate, the government has proposed maybe a levy of 1.75. You disagree? Give a counter proposal. Give a counter offer.
Did they not give that counter offer
On the floor.
later?
Oh.
On the floor, I gave counter. I gave
I'm
counter
telling you
proposals
that
on my debate.
it didn't happen.
Look,
You
I
see,
did.
But he's saying that he
I
did.
did in my debate.
What was
I
your
did.
counter? What was your counter proposal?
On the taxes on the fuel prices? I said I gave areas where we're already getting money, for example, for sanitation. I gave areas, for example, the SPT.
Okay.
And the fact that if we take this out, we still can have those services rendered.
So you wanted the e-levy out
Bella.
completely.
So-
That was the
so-
position of the
Bella,
minority. Carry on.
Bella, you know, from the one when we went to a whole, we listened to the arguments and all that. And on radio and TV, they had indicated. I was on Metro TV with one of their members on Friday. They said clearly that it was a no.
On
Even
Tuesday, did your leaders not meet?
subsequently, on Tuesday, I know they met. The NDC had five
Conditions.
conditions or issues. And I was told that 4 of them, there was some agreement. It was left with the e-levy in no matter. But you see, these issues can be resolved amicably, even after the economic policy of the government has gone through, if we mean well for this country. For example,
If the
they raised
policy
an
has been
issue.
what approved, you can still
because
amicably resolve. But they are saying that.
to deal with estimates. You are not done.
So hold on. I listened to
Because
Honorable
you
Mahama
can't.
Ayarga yesterday,
Yeah.
and he said that already the minority did not look good in the eyes of Ghanaians. Now, if they've told Ghanaians that we're not going to agree to this policy, now they wanted, if they're going to have deliberations, they don't want to have it behind closed doors. Let's have it in Parliament, where you, the finance minister, can come and say that, okay, minority has said A, B, C, and D. We will do A, B, C, and D, and on that basis, they'll vote. So that Ghanaians know that they have not gone to take some money. Because there was also that concern that the finance minister had said that he knows how to get the minority to agree to a deal. So they wanted everything to be done in the open. Why did you not agree to that?
The problem of the NDC is that they hurry and rush to make commitments and pronouncements that come back to bite them.
Like, how?
Oh, because if you say that it's going to be a no-no, I'm not going to accept the e-levy, okay? Then coming back to even accept it is difficult. Because then people are going to Ajapa, they say, oh, Ajapa is a no-no, right? Meanwhile, you've not even seen the revised document, whether the content is good or bad, but you've made conclusion. That is why they are having, some difficulties. They raised an issue about the Keta C defense. Our deputy majority leader, he was in the house on that day, filed a question. The question was answered by the minister responsible for that sector. During the discussions, I heard Speaker Babin saying that if it was not even part of this budget, we can make way for it to be included in the mid-year budget review. So why should this become an issue again? Why should it become? Because there has been an agreement in the House that it can be included in the mid-year budget. Why should you make it a precondition? But
how do they vote on a policy document that says, that does not have the tidal wave issue inside, that is stating the Japa deal, and that says we'll take 1.75%? Then what were you going to vote on eventually?
If every community is supposed to come up with their challenges and all that, how can you move forward?
So you didn't need to include that in the policy?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that on the Keta C defense wall, there was a question filed in the House, and there was a consensus that it can be included in the mid-year budget. So
the same minister had even said that he spoke to the finance minister and was hopeful that it will make an appearance in the 2022 budget.
Yes.
It didn't make an appearance. So if you tell them that it's going to make an appearance in the mid-year budget review, what's the guarantee?
I'm saying that we have to operate by consensus and trust each other. It was on the floor that concession was made. Okay, so for me,
it was on the same floor that the minister said that he was hoping that the finance minister would have.
No, I remember it. He granted an interview to the press. I was there, standing close to him when he said that. But on the floor, the speaker who even suggested that this shouldn't be an issue. It can be included in the mid-year budget review. Another issue was about
land on this for me so I can bring
the Aka Energy deal that they are talking about reconstruction, or the way that was used. This reconstruction, I don't think it's something difficult that cannot be done. What I'm saying is that out of the 5, there was agreement on 4, save the 1.75. I'm told that they wanted 1.0, and we also offered, I think, 1.50. Yeah. Still, we are talking about that. But in the midst of this, the fact is that we know that we are having issues regarding our finances. We have a debt stock of about 241 billion Ghana cedis, interest payment and all that. We need to raise money to face our challenges. Should we go to the capital market? Should we go to the banks and borrow? Or can we raise money from within? That is what we are trying to do, innovatively, trying to cash in on domestic environment. And this mobile money transaction, he knows that last year, the volume or the value of mobile money transaction was about 500 billion Ghana cedis.
So you're going to catch it.
So you're going to...
No, but you see,
take some.
Bella, I'm telling you, in this day and age, with this digital economy, if our friends were in government, I will tell you that they will have cash in on this advantage. That can be used to help move this country
if
forward.
they were, but they are not, so we cannot necessarily say that. Let's come to Honorable Bauer to respond. First of all, to Ernest Nogbe's, justification in Parliament. What do you make of that?
Without mentioning names. When I was looking at the screen, I saw myself there. So, without mentioning names, I think that Parliament can conduct its business better than we have done. But sometimes it's because of the fact that these things are hinged on bread and butter issues. It's hinged on survival. is hinged on the people you represent. And so because of these factors, sometimes emotions can go haywire. But all I can say is that we can do better than this.
Okay.
As a people. That being said, it is also important to state very clearly that look, the members of parliament, particularly the minority, have had alternatives that we have given. Yes, government is making the point that they need fiscal consolidation. They know that, of course, that one everybody knows. If you take interest payments and you take emoluments, it's about 93% of our total revenue. So we are aware of that. However, the members of parliament have indicated very clearly other areas where we can make money. One, again, it's true, on Sunday, the statement that was issued and signed by Haruna Idrisu stated our positions. Our initial position was the fact that it was a no-no for e-levy. We talked about reconstruction of the wedding in the, what they call it, about the academy.
Yeah.
We talked about the benchmark revenues. I mean, so there were 5 of them that we stated. But there was a hierarchy of those demands. And top on the list was the e-levy. Now, at our proposal to them was that, look, even though we had stated that it was a no-no, the moment you decide to go into negotiation, you should be ready to move from your original position. That's why you go into negotiation.
Okay.
So we said that, look, based on what experts ISA had earlier on indicated, that look, anything above 0.5 will make the tax punitive. And that was a regressive tax. We were even a bit more liberal. We said, look, based on what experts have indicated, we said, okay, so if they say 0.5 and you are saying 1.75, then we are ready to let you play between 0.5 and 1%. Anything there, we are ready to take that.
Okay.
Then we said that in terms of your threshold, instead of making it 100,
increase it
to 500. Then you said it was too high. Now, okay, well, let's bring it to 300. So that anybody who is transferring 300 and below, you don't tax that.
Okay.
So we had made those points. You have indicated that you are not ready to listen to those things. Then we said that you said because of our finance, we said, look, re-institute or what they call it, introduce the toll what they call it, the road tolls. Okay. Because we have a situation where a car from Burkina Faso will come all the way from Tema and drive all the way to Burkina Faso without paying. So we had stated all our
but they're saying that they didn't need to put it in the policy documents. We have to go by the way, but then you could have still come in at the appropriation stage to still make those changes, even if they didn't state it in the policy statement. But we have to go. I'm being counted down. I have just a second. I have to go. Was she really the one?
Adjoa Safo was in the house on Tuesday.
Okay.
I went to her. I spoke with her.
You also spoke to her.
Okay. On Tuesday.
Okay. Well, she also said she was the one. We're still waiting for investigations to take place.
There's a formal petition to Parliament.
Yes, to investigate that.
It's needless.
We'll see what
it's needless to investigate if she was the one or not.
Okay. If she was there,
well, happy birthday to Isaac Sam, Assistant Station Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, Danu. Happy birthday to you. And to everyone who tuned in, thank you. Of course, TV3Newday continues. I've been speaking to Honorable Edward Bauer. He's the MP for Bongo constituency. And Dr. Kingsley Nyako is the MP for Kwadaso NPP. We're still waiting for the investigations to be carried out on whether Honorable Adjoa Safo was really in Parliament on that day or not. But New Day continues. We have sports, entertainment, and so much more. Keep watching.